Cubs fans often wonder, how good is Dusty Baker? I mean, he was the Cubs skipper when the Bartman game happened, had some good teams. The guys played really hard for him. Some of you guys have messaged and said, hey, just like David Ross, the guys play really hard for Dusty, but they don't have anything to show for it. We're going to talk some Dusty Baker here on the Cubs Baseball channel. But before we do, thank you guys for being here. A couple things I want to tell you. We want you on our roster. We're looking for some guys that can hit. We're looking for some pitchers. We're looking for some bullpen help. Whatever you got, bring it to the table. It's easy to do. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Hit the bell. Do all the things that it takes. And don't forget that the channel is presented by the Tennessee Smokies. They won the Southern League Championship for the first time in 45 years. Yeah, 45 years, 1978. And they've got championship swag. And we want you guys to go check it out. That is smokiesbaseball.com/store. All right, he's Chad Anderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. And again, welcome to the Cubs Baseball channel. Chad, this was a show that you wanted to do, and so we're doing it for you. And this is the Dusty Baker Cubs show, right?
I feel like you set me up for that one where it's like,
you
all
wanted
right,
to
hey,
do it. I'm all about it.
I just came up with the topic. That's all. And I'm sitting here going, oh man, either this one could be good or it could be one that you get crucified for, you know? Like,
well, there's this record right there with the Cubs, 322, 326. Yeah. I remember the years that he was managing the Cubs. They were very competitive. They didn't reach their potential. And I think a lot of us held some of those years against them. You know, 2003 obviously was the year that the Cubs, had the Bartman game. 2004 was, I think, one of the most disappointing Cubs years ever when we went out and got Nomar. We had this just fantastic roster, but everything went wrong. And then after that, 2005 and 2006 went down the drain. And then all of a sudden we get Lou Piniella, and by 2007 and 2008, we're back winning again. I don't know that that's his fault or not, but that's what we're here to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, that 2004 team, that one just sticks out so bad. As painful as Bartman was, I think 04, when you look at it, you're going, okay, Cubs coming off of the 2003 season where they should have won the pennant. Most of the team is back. You add Nomar at the trade deadline, like you talked about. Mark Pryor was kind of banged up a lot. Some after that 03 season, he just never seemed to stay healthy for long enough. But, 04 and then 05 and 6 were really just abysmal because Dusty went from, the penthouse to the cellar in a hurry. In a hurry, Mick. He went from being 88 and 74, winning, which isn't even a fantastic record. He never won 90 games with the Cubs, but he won the division 88 and 74 in 03. The next year, he actually had a one-game better record, but finished third in the division in 2004 and then collapsed on that wild card spot. 05 was bad. And 06, he was 66 and 96. So it was one of those where I remember Dusty becoming the manager and just thinking, man, this is freaking awesome because you come from the Giants. At the Giants, he won two division titles. He was runner-up every year from 97 to 02. He was either runner-up or the division winner. He went to the World Series that he would have won in San Francisco if it wasn't for the frickin' rally monkey in Anaheim.
I remember the rally monkey.
Man, the rally monkey. So it was like, man, this is the perfect time. Like the Cubs, because I was over Don Baylor. Like I was sick of Don Baylor.
I like Don Baylor.
It was too old school, way too old school for me. I was not a Don Baylor fan. Riggleman couldn't really manage arms.
I liked Riggs too, man.
I loved
honestly, I
Riggleman.
liked a lot of these Cubs managers. You're going to
I
name them
did
all.
like Riggleman.
I loved Zimmer too.
Oh, Zimmer was great. Yeah,
Zim was
Zimmer
awesome.
was great. Yeah, he was awesome. But the Baylor's the main one I did not like. I was not a big Don Baylor fan. So Dusty comes in, it's like, oh my God, this is it. And it's like Dusty just went out and conquered the world in year one, and expectations were here. And after that 04 season, I mean, the Cubs just went back to being the lovable losers. And then he goes to Cincinnati and wins 2 division titles, Mick. So he had the one good year and then a good year stat-wise, but a disappointing finish with the Cubs, and then it sucked. Everywhere else, though, he won. He won division titles with the Giants, with the Reds, with the Nationals, and now with the Astros, he's playing for the World Series every year, it feels like.
Yeah, well, yeah, I got to say this, though. Like the Giants, I mean, he had the 103 win team. He had the team that you mentioned that lost in the World Series to Anaheim. When his son was a little kid and ran out there to try to get the bat in the middle of a play. Yeah. And now Darren's a pretty good baseball player, but they underachieved with the Giants. I mean, he had Barry Bonds in his prime and Jeff Kent and all those guys. Never won anything. When it comes to a championship, came to the Cubs. And I don't know that it was his fault that the Cubs didn't win in 03 or in 04, but they had great teams. Went to the Reds, remember, and one of those years, I think it was 2010, they were 20 games over 500, and they had a 2-0 lead in the first round of the playoffs and blew it. They lost 3 straight at home, I think it was, right? And maybe I'm trying to remember. I just know that they blew.
It was 2012.
Okay, 2012, yeah.
Yeah, they won. So they went 97-65. They won the Central with ease. But yeah, they were eliminated in the first round. I was trying to grab the.
Yeah, they had the lead and blew it, right? Then it goes to the Nationals, and again, like can't get it done in the playoffs. And then because of everything that happened in Houston, they bring him back and he wins the World Series. He loses the World Series. He comes back and wins the World Series. So, I mean, you look at what he's done in his career, and I mean, it's a pretty damn good career. I mean, if you could stay around and manage for 26 years in the big leagues and you end up with, 2,183 wins, you've done something, right? I'll tell you this too, on a personal note, he's really a great guy. I mean, just having been around him a little bit, he's nice. He's the kind of person that you would expect to get chance after chance. So I don't know. I'm guessing the question that you want answered is he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer.
It's got to be that. I just wonder, like, do you really give? Trying to think of, maybe another example where, to me, it's college basketball. That's a good example for me. College basketball
always goes back to hoops with you, doesn't it?
How are we talking basketball on the Cubs channel? But
because you love it.
But if you think about it, right, like Major League Baseball,
Sister Jean,
yeah, Loyola, baby, yeah. the Ramblers, right? If you look at baseball, though, it's just one of those sports where football, it's hard for an underdog a lot of times to beat the better team. Like you just don't see the 6 seed beating the 1 in the NFL. You see similar teams win conference or national championships in college football. Major League Baseball is like college basketball. You get to the end and anybody can beat anybody for the most part, especially in those short series. If you have a really good 1-2 punch in the starting rotation, if you've got a dominant closer, a good bullpen, like it just doesn't take as much to beat teams in a short series in Major League Baseball. So just like basketball, like a 10 seed beats a 2 seed. It's not that crazy. Think about it. The Diamondbacks are going to play the Phillies for the LCS. Nobody's like losing their mind that the Diamondbacks are playing for the LCS, when back in August, what did they have? Like a 5% chance to even make the playoffs?
I know, but I look at the Diamondbacks. I'm going to tell you, after seeing them beat up on the Cubs like they did, the top of their rotation is underrated and stout.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
And the leadoff hitter is one of the best players in baseball.
But that just proves the point. Is like Dusty has been obviously thought high enough by 5 organizations in order to lead their team. He's won multiple division titles, and to me that speaks higher volumes, because over the course of a really, really long season, he had the better team. Like, you want to find out who the best teams are, play more games. The best teams always end up winning more. So, yeah, I get it. He's had the World Series monkey jinx, whatever, is off his back now because he's won one with Houston.
He's the defending champ.
He is. Now, he may not be defending here in a few days.
I know. Well, they're not out of it yet, but you're right.
But I just think he gets a bad rap. Look at Bobby Cox. One World Series, by the way, and that was in a short year. Beat the Indians, right? You look at Bucky Harris, only 2 World Series titles. Dusty's up there with the likes of Connie Mack, who's probably going to hold that record forever on wins. Which is funny because he has more losses than he does wins.
But he had 2 dynasties.
He did. Tony La Russa, who is a great manager when he's not 104. John McGraw, Bobby Cox, Joe Torre, Sparky Anderson. Those are the guys ahead of Dusty. And he deserves to be in that conversation.
Yeah, I'm not arguing with you. I'm the guy winning the World Series changes the entire narrative. If he doesn't come back and win that World Series with Houston, it's an entirely different ball game. All right, guys, that does it for today's show here on the Cubs Baseball Channel. He's Chad Anderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. Thanks for being here. Give us your comments. What do you think of Dusty Baker? Is he a Hall of Famer in your book? Do you hold him accountable for the Bartman game? Alex Gonzalez should have caught that ball and turned that double play. We talked about it a lot. I'm going to tell you guys what I've been impressed with is all the comments we've gotten. Not one person has blamed Bartman. And I find that to be impressive. I think it's time for Bartman to join us on the show here and talk about what life's been like since the time that he tried to make the catch of a foul ball back in 2003. He's Chad Anderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. If you're not part of the channel, it's really easy to do. We want you to be here. Like and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. Go Cubs, everybody.